Hey everyone, welcome back to Python Learning. In this video, we are going to discuss about different types of functions. That too, especially what is custom function. Functions are standalone tool which works independently without depending on any object. We all have studied this. In Python, usually we see two different types of functions. One is inbuilt functions, another one is a custom functions. When I say inbuilt functions, they are the predefined functions which are already defined in a Python. I would say they're already available in a Python, like sum, maximum, minimum, length, print, type. These are all inbuilt functions which are already available in a Python. The next important function that we need to explore is a custom functions. Custom functions are like very interesting functions. Custom functions are user-defined function which includes a block of code and that instructions will be executed only upon calling. Custom functions are basically defined by the users. We are going to define our own functions, which includes an instructions. We call it like a block of code. And those instructions will get executed only by calling. So that's an interesting thing about a custom function. I'll show you a simple example to make you understand custom function. Very simple. Let's say my question is find square of a given number. I have a number a equals 3. I just want to find square of a number. Usually what we do, we just use a double asterisk 3, which is going to give me, I want square, right? So I'll say like a double asterisk 2 will give me square of a number, which is 3 square, which is 9, right? So now the question is here, if I want to find square of a number for different numbers, every time I just need to change my input number. I should keep changing my input number and I have to run entire set of instructions multiple times. Instead of that, we have an interesting concept called as a custom function. It's like, let's say for example, you want to prepare some recipe. You'll watch a video one time and you will record it somewhere, you will note it down in a sheet of paper, and next time to prepare that recipe, you just look into that sheet. You will understand it in 2-3 minutes, and then you will prepare that recipe. Right, same way works in a custom function. First, you define something. Define the instructions and then keep calling like whenever you want. That's an interesting thing about, custom function. See here, I want to find square of a number using custom function. Very simple. We always start a syntax with a def keyword. Def, I'll just call a function name, which is square, and then you have to pass a parameter. To find a square of a number, only one parameter is important for me. And then you have to close it with a colon. And then you can use print statement or you can use a written statement and you can write x double asterisk 2. See, I wrote my program only for the one time. This is my instruction. I have run the program. Now, if you want to find square of 2, you can just call function and you can pass the input. Like that, you can keep calling your function and keep passing your input so that it does tasks for you without running entire program. Getting? See here, we have defined our own function and it's run only one time. And now we are just calling and we are passing different inputs so that it is doing task for us. So that's an interesting thing about what I see custom functions. Hope it's clear. So now let's move on to the syntax. Syntax is pretty simple. It always starts with a def keyword. Def is a keyword that indicates start of a function. It's like defining something. After define, you have to write a function name. Function name in the sense like name of a function you are defining. And to write a function name, you have to follow the rules that you are following for your variable names. And then inside a function, there can be a parameters. Let's say, for example, you want to find square of a number, you need one parameter. To find addition of two numbers, you need two parameters. To find addition of three numbers, you need three parameters. Parameters in the sense like variables that is important for your code. Getting? Yeah. These are the input values that function will take. They are optional and you can have how many ever variables you want. Okay. So next important thing, parameter hint. Usually, let's say you define some parameters and you don't remember like what you defined while calling a function. So you can just make use of pressing Shift plus Tab while calling a function so that it will display the parameter hints that were initially defined. Don't worry, I'll show everything. And then default parameter, sometimes you can also set a default parameter value as well. If value is not provided, usually function will throw an error. So in that case, you can provide a default value so that we can avoid the error. And the important thing, we have a doc string. Doc string in the sense, you write a program, you define your custom function, and you want to explain like what you have done. One approach is obviously you can use a code, text cell, or you can comment out. Instead of that, what if you want to comment out in a function itself so that, you can understand it later. So for commenting anything related to this function, you can just use a doc string. Use either triple single quote or triple double quotes. Great. Then function code. This is a code that gets executed when function is called. We call it like an instructions. And then we have a written. So written is pretty much similar to your print statement. So this keyword indicates that the function will return a value. So this is also optional. You can also have a multiple written statements in a function. Okay, this is a simple understanding of a syntax. Let me explain one by one with an example now. My question is very simple. I have to find the addition of two numbers. So writing program is simple. Start with a def keyword, write a function name. We have to find sum of two, right? So we'll call my function name as sum of two. Okay. Use parenthesis and we have to pass a parameter. So what are the parameters? For adding two numbers, obviously we need our two variables. I'll just give it like x and y and I'll close it with a colon. Then the code or our instruction is going to be written x plus y. Done. Understand? So def is a keyword. Sum of two is a function name. X and y are parameters. And we are closing it with a colon. We are using return statement in order to return value of expression, which is x plus y. So this is my function. Just understand, if I call my function name now, I'll just call sum of two and I'll pass nothing into this function. So you know what it is giving? It's giving me error because it is expecting two parameters from us. If I give 2 comma 3, it will give you 2 plus 3, which is 5. Great. Again, let's say you are calling your function, but you don't know like what you gave within that particular function, like what are the parameters you gave. So what you people can do, just press shift tab. See, it is showing what are the parameters that your function is expecting, x and y. Okay, so now I can give 10 and 20, so it will give you addition of two numbers. Next important thing, I was saying about a default parameter, right? You can also set our default values like this, x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. Okay, when I set x is equal to 0, y equals 0, and if I call my function and if I forget to pass parameters, so basically you have to run your program first because we did some changes. Can you see? When I had set x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, which is our default parameters, default values, my function is working even without passing the values. You know why? Because the default values are 0 and 0. It's taking default values. Okay, so let's say for example, I'll give one of them a 10 and then here I'll just pass it like a 20. See, it just gives like a 20 only. Because whatever single value I pass will be considered like a x. First value, whatever single value you give, it will be considered as an x. See, 20 plus 0 is 20. You are getting the same thing. If it was like 5, it gives you 20 plus 5, which is 25. So this is all about a default parameter. I hope it's clear. And the doc string. So we are doing different things here, right? So if I want to document something, so let's say we are finding sum of two numbers, and then x and y are parameters. If you want to define like what you have done, then it's useful. So x and y are parameters, and we have given some default values as well. See, we call this as a doc string. Even by writing that comment within a function, it doesn't affect your function. So that's an interesting thing about, doc string. Want to learn more about what is print statement, what is written statement, what is the difference between print and written? Then you should wait for next video. Thank you. Happy learning.